Todd Bensman joins us now from the border. He's a longtime journalist and the author of the new book, Overrun: How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in American History. Todd, thanks so much for joining us. Where are you?
I am in Piedras Negras, which is in Mexico, just across from Eagle Pass, Texas. This has been a red-hot spot for illegal immigration for the last couple weeks.
Who's coming across, do you think, and how many?
Right now, immigrants from 160 different countries are crossing this border. These are going to be people from other than Mexico and other than Central America, really from all over the world, Middle Easterners, people from every country of Africa, and the numbers are absolutely stupendous. This mass migration crisis of the last 36 months, 30 plus months, broke every record in the national history books already. But now we're in a surge that is breaking all of those records. We're looking at, 14,000 apprehensions a day, 10,000, 11, 12,000 a day, where like 1,000 a day once upon a time a few years ago was considered a national emergency.
Equipment prep for this one-day assignment. Decided to switch over to my Jeep since we're driving into Mexico and we want to go hunting for B-roll. So we're going to be doing some off-roading. And I don't want to take my van over the border full of equipment because I'll get potentially searched going both directions and probably need a carnet with that much equipment. So we're going to take the Jeep with the EX3 live view, my little Liebeck sticks, which are pretty beat up and of questionable reliability at this stage. It's been quite a while since I've driven my own vehicle from the U.S. into Mexico, and I've got to purchase auto insurance with a Mexican policy, but the good news is you can buy it by the day. It was about $25 for one 24-hour period on my Jeep, and that was with some collision coverage. I could have gone for a lower cost option. So here's the kit. I got a softbox for the Aperture 300D, live view. I got a bag with all my support audio, the DJI kit for backup, stick mic, which I'll run with the DJI unit if we need it for some man on the street interviews. I've got a hardwired Sanken lav, some gold mount batteries in the bottom, a 60X as a secondary fill light if needed. And in this tripod bag are 5 baby stands and a couple of grip heads to rig the umbrella. I've got one short baby stand with the shelf for the talent, hardwired lav mic, and then the IFB earpiece, and then 2 headphone extensions. I, at this stage, was not confirmed if we're running IFB over iPhone or if it'll be off the headphone return on the live view. Interesting discovery. These are my FX9 batteries. The OEM Sony batteries do not power up the EX3, but the generic versions work okay. Little one-on-one real-world perspective. I know this border issue is so politicized, but this lumber delivery guy dropping my fence materials had a cell phone from Del Rio, so I asked him, hey, you had some time to get down there and get out on the lake and do some fishing? And he said, oh man, it's so crazy down there right now. He's like, my family's house has been broken into several times by migrants. One of his aunts was assaulted and ended up in the hospital. Mostly people just breaking in desperate, looking for shelter and food. And then he went on to tell me a story about how he was down there on his family's ranch land on the border, deer hunting. Armed smugglers set up in one of their deer blinds, and they ended up in a little bit of a standoff waiting for law enforcement to arrive. Got the Jeep all packed. Got insurance for the Jeep, just a one-day policy. And just talked to my talent. And they've got a rental car that they can't drive into Mexico, and they've got someone with them. So I was planning to just have him jump in the front seat, but now I got to make room for one more. So I got to fold my rear seat up. I think what I'll do is jettison the cart, and maybe I'll get rid of the 60X, and then I'll have to just put my light stands and tripod maybe vertical in the rear seat. One day assignment, drive in. It's about a 3-hour drive with a pit stop, and it rained the entire drive, took a little longer, but still ahead of schedule. So we decided to go down to the Eagle Pass side of the river and just see if there were any B-roll opportunities with migrants. But Looks like due to the mud, rain, and high water in the Rio, it was pretty quiet. We put the drone up, and we got one or two shots of about a half a dozen migrants in the river. When packing, I was mentally preparing myself for the usual 3-digit temperatures down there on the border and the dust and misery, and fortunately it was overcast and in the 70s for our entire stay. Piedras Negras. Oh, so clean on this side. Got the high ground too. Since we got an easy day with it being overcast, all I need is one light, no umbrella overhead. I have the Fresnel lens as well as a softbox ready to go. And I chose the EX3 for this assignment for a couple of reasons. One, it's the first time I've driven into Mexico in a long time. I didn't know how much or if any trouble I was going to get not having a carnet. And two, for this specific shot, it was all about the view and the background. And I have been struggling shooting news with my FX9. Even at an 8 or an 11, it's just way too soft in the background. Sufficient fill. All I needed was 8%. Ended up staying on the Fresnel lens, the shadow. Third reason to shoot EX3 over FX9 was I knew we were going to be up on this platform for a couple hours standing by, and I wanted the zoom range to be able to pick off B-roll shots of activity. So I was laughing as I was prepping for this assignment, thinking that this may actually get the most views or impressions out of all of the work I've done past 25 years, and I'm using a minimal amount of kit, and it's all old gear, which just reinforces that it's not about high-end gear and having the latest stuff over referrals, experience, and telling the story.
Now we're in a surge that is breaking all of those records. We're looking at, 14,000 apprehensions a day, 10,000, 11, 12,000 a day, where like 1,000 a day once upon a time a few years ago.
So sad. Came over here for a nice lunch, but we're hurrying, and the only thing we could find that was open with a restroom is, yeah, not gonna eat, just gonna skip the meal.
About 3 years ago, I could stand on the riverbank on the Texas side, but no mas. Water is a little more intimidating on this side. Seeing it move that quickly, and those rocks being all slimy green. So happy the Jeep's finally getting some off-road time. Oh, look, some pups. When I'm on the other side watching over here, I always see horses out here grazing, and they'll go out on the island, but no horses today. Back on the US side, it just occurred to me that it's quiet today because of the rain. Not so much the rain, but the higher water level and swifter currents. So last ditch effort, I'm eating way too much Whataburger. My time here in Texas. Late lunch, I wanted to have a nice meal over in Piedras Negras. It just wasn't meant to be. So we'll be back there soon. So setting up the camera, I tend to always start with a preset at 5600, and then I'll shoot an auto white balance with a white card under my lighting and compare and choose which I like. And I overlooked checking my tint on this one. I just went with what the camera thought was right. And as you can see here, I got that dreaded Sony Green bias. And the studio camera shows here in the US all favor more in the magenta direction, which just makes it stand out even more. And I noticed on this episode, the second guest, second block in Poland must also be a Sony camera because it was the same offset in magenta versus green. So I'm going to watch out for that on my next EX3 gig. I guess I'll do the same as what I did on my FX9, which is in the white menu. I'm going to put in a plus magenta offset It was a quiet week. 1-day assignment on Wednesday. That was it. I thought I was going to work Friday, but that didn't happen. Next week, I got Friday confirmed, Monday pending. What is the sweet spot for you as a freelancer? How many days a month to not be stressed and have all the bills paid? Let me know in the comments below.